match on Waystation. Let's see if, oh, it looks like MajOr is just taking an opportunity to get himself set up. Now, on this map on Waystation, I want to ask you, we have the long positions, where generally we'd say that the Zerg player would have a little bit of favoritism for the space, but in the close positions, I feel like the exact opposite is true. It's going to be a huge favorite for the Terran player to have close distances across the board. What are your thoughts on the map?
I think, you know, it's definitely a very interesting map. I love any sort of creativity in maps that kind of separates from the norm, and the fact that this map allows for two completely different games based on starting positions. I think that's fantastic. I love seeing that. Now, a part of me feels MajOr might have chosen this with that in mind, obviously wanting that close positions, but it could easily go the other way. So I love that aspect of the map, and we're going to have two radically different things to talk about depending on what happens in the beginning.
Well, I've just clicked the start button.
Yes.
The game is counting down. It's time for yet another game going to the third series at MLG. It's going to be TLO versus MajOr. I know there's a lot of fan favoritism for TLO that's been stretching back since the dawn of Starcraft time. MajOr is a much quieter player, and people are always saying, I want more examples of MajOr's skill. Can you show me? Well, we have 8-person round-robin groups.
Yay! We could see a lot of it, and MajOr was super impressive in that last game. Literally, whenever he was attacking somewhere, whenever our camera was watching MajOr do something, there was something else going on because of MajOr's amazing multitasking ability and drop potential. But here we are in game number 3. Audience super happy, hopefully.
Down in the bottom left-hand corner, currently teamless, but absolutely not skillless. It's MajOr.
And his opponent in the top right-hand location, your Teal Zerg player, representing Team Liquid. He is TLO.
And I mean, TLO is really unfortunate to be in these close positions.
Yeah.
I mean, he is so upset he might even start a fight over it.
We would not want to see that. I love these subtle jokes we have where people online don't even know. But we have an intimate connection with the audience right now, which is fantastic.
Hello, audience. Wonderful to be here with you this fine Friday evening. That's right, the infamous double cheer. Cheer, and now you're on camera. Oh, we need the momentum again. Now, in these spots, we've seen some really tough to deal with cheese plays because the distance from one natural to the other is about 30 seconds for just a regular old Marine, which is not a particularly fast unit.
Very true, and obviously this is something TLO has to consider in his opening build order. Look out to see, you know, a lot of scouting from TLO, really making sure he knows what MajOr is doing, because if you don't spot something, it will be at your front doorstep in the next, as you said, 30 seconds for a standard Marine. So TLO has to be super on top of correctly identifying exactly what MajOr is up to. And on the other side of things, do you think MajOr might have some early game all-in-ish shenaniganry in mind?
I don't know if Terran really have good all-ins against Zerg. I mean, I think the best that you can hope for is to do something like what Polt did in the last match against Scarlet. And I mean, we saw how that went. It's the sort of attack that should kill every Zerg except the top tier, and that's what happened. Yeah.
You know, in talking about game 1 of this series, we saw MajOr. It's a very cool build where you get that armory pretty fast. You have that medevac with that first army. You change your Hellions into Hellbats when the armory finishes, and then you strike immediately. And that actually did a lot of damage to TLO.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry. You're totally right. That's definitely the only one that I think we'd ever see is the big old Hellbat push where someone's like, look at me, I have a transformation service. Oh, I got this for free. Came with my armory. You know, I think that TLO, if I were in TLO's shoes, I'd be like, oh no, man, I'm going for the cheese straight away. And ooh, this is cheeky. TLO's leaving 1 in the gas geyser, which is used sometimes for cheese and sometimes to tech. So if this Reaper does get up there,
he does.
Did you see that reaction timing? TLO sent 3 into the gas and then immediately sent them back to mine minerals when he saw the Reaper get close. Now the Reaper's out.
Mind games, I like it. Meanwhile, this is something sneaky Zerg players can do. When the Reaper comes across the map, if you can avoid that Reaper, with those Lings and get to your opponent's natural expansion, you can delay the command center, which is what happened a little bit there. Was able to peck at that SCV, actually gets into the main base, and this is not what MajOr wanted.
This is one of those red-cheeked moments where you know that you're on stage, that we're looking at it, you and I are having a conversation about how in the main the Zerglings are, and it just doesn't feel good. Looks like we're going to see a very space control emphasis opening from MajOr. He's almost certainly going for Banshees.
Yeah, we see the starport on the way. Tech Lab out of that barracks. Transferring might, in fact, happen. Meanwhile, trying to keep on top of his information, sending his Reaper back into his opponent's main base, checking on the gas timing, doesn't want TLO doing anything sneaky to catch him off guard and backing up. That's exactly what you want to do, keeping that Reaper alive. Meanwhile, has that natural command center on the ground and going to be going into that Banshee play. Now, TLO, I'm not sure if he has any idea about this. An Overlord very close, but I like how MajOr identifies where that Overlord is and has those 3 Marines there just in case that Overlord decides to get a bit brave.
Yeah. Real interesting deviations that we're seeing for these players. I'm using this term a lot, space control. And space control is the idea of, can I wander freely around the map and not die? And if you have the units that can do that, you're preventing your opponent from doing it. Yep. You have space control. And that's what Hellions and Banshees are absolutely excellent at. Zerg do not have good anti-air early on. So Banshees, the fast units, the Hellions, that's going to lock the Zerg back. And what are we seeing out of TLO? Baneling Nest before upgrades. Spore Crawlers before upgrades. This is as cautious as I've ever seen TLO open.
He did spot the Cloak Banshee play from MajOr, so he is aware of that. Obviously, it's very good to be aware of, so you can adequately prepare for invisible units that can make your life harder in about seconds. You can lose an entire mineral line. So,
oh my
good awareness
God,
with the Spore Crawlers.
This is so cheesy for MajOr. He is just rallying everything. He's getting the armory. He's going to do a Hellbat Marine Banshee play. This is all in as all in gets. If he loses with this force, he's been building out of units, or excuse me, out of structures that he's not going to want in the late game. He's going to be in terrible shape if this backfires.
Okay, let's see if TLO has the proper response. Still making drones in that production tab, not really taking this seriously, but now he pretty much knows his queens are getting targeted down, trying to get a bunch of units on the field. Has a decent amount of queens, so it's going to be very instrumental in holding this off. One queen falls, the second queen very close to falling. Those queens are so important to help deal with those Banshees, but MajOr doing a great job rallying these units forward and pressing hard. Ling's trying to go in first round there, but TLO trying to come up with the pieces of the puzzle to fend this off.
It's Hellbat time.
There it is.
Here they come. Marching forward, Banelings are not quite out yet. MajOr just walked the Banshee right into the Spore Crawler before it died. That is huge. Second Banshee getting produced on the back of this. More Zerglings, more Queens, units being rallied to the front. If those Banelings pop out, these Hellbats are just going to fall apart.
Overall, as I'm watching this, TLO's still alive, and again, MajOr investing a lot into this attack. Has a command center behind this, but Harvesters 46-40 in favor of TLO, so still a good amount of Harvesters on the field. He didn't take a ridiculous amount of damage. I think TLO is doing a decent job holding this off.
Spore Crawlers marching forward, looking silly while doing it, but they're the most important piece to repelling the Banshees. Banshees trying to find targets out of Cloak. Now the Queens are going to reign supreme.
Careful.
Just 2 Hellbats. No way they can withstand that many Zerglings. A clean surround, and TLO has survived.
Nice. TLO fending off the attack. And that's such a heart-wrenching moment as a Zerg player. You know this very aggressive attack is coming, and if you hold it off, you're in a good position. TLO able to maintain his composure and hold it off, and what happened in game 1 might be happening again. TLO going direct for a counterattack, changing his mind once the Banshee's shown up, and is going to be returning back home. But as far as how things stand, income tab 48-40 in favor of MajOr Supply, 82-78 in favor of TLO. Overall, I don't think anyone has a ridiculous advantage.
Yeah, this is, I mean, TLO is, doing a very cute reaction, getting a Roach Warren up. If we take a look at what's going on in MajOr's base, we're actually seeing a transition to mech. This is an uncharacteristic move, something that we've been really missing from the StarCraft scene lately. Mech, absolutely beautiful when the positions are very close. You never want to have to take a long walk to kill your enemy if you're meching.
No, it's very leapfrog-based, very slow pressing, trying to drain the energy out of your opponent and leapfrog across the map and slowly crush them. So a good decision on this map, I think. Now the question is, how does TLO kind of react to that? We're seeing some Banshees be annoying at the natural expansion. I mean, he's got the, pretty much he's got the core stuff there to deal with that mech. He's got the upgrades on the way for the Roaches. He's got the Roach Horn down and starting to produce those. Does he try to make a jump into Swarm Host? How many extra bases can he take? That's a very good thing to try to do when your opponent's going mech. They're going to be slow. It takes a while to get that big composition on the map, so it might be a good idea to take a 4th hatchery fairly soon. Really get that drone count up so that you can take advantage of the fact that your opponent isn't going to be hyper aggressive too soon.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, you obviously want some Swarm Hosts because they deal well in direct engagements. I do not like this attack at all. It's going to advance forward. We're seeing a lot of the Hellbats amazingly stay alive, but they got to be so careful. If the Roaches pop out, all of a sudden the Banshee count has gone from 3 to 1.
Yeah.
Reasonable splitting, and I mean, this is going to throw away all the control.
As long as he keeps the drones alive,
yeah.
TLO is perfectly fine. I mean, the Roaches come forward, clean at the Hellbats, and overall, he did okay there.
Yeah, I think that was a very solid defense. And now what we're going to see is TLO is going to turn, buckle his army back to the front line, and this 3rd base is going to be under some serious duress.
All right, Banshee's still trying to be annoying across the map. MajOr setting up that 3rd base of his own. Mining like a madman there. 2 more factories on the way, so MajOr slowly trying to build up that army. But again, you know, lost those Hellbats a little bit earlier, but I guess that's a sacrifice he was willing to make.
A pause.
Oh, no! Someone get some cheddar cheese. Terrible joke. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, MajOr has mentioned this before, that his mouse seemed to be going kaput a little bit, and it comes back very shortly. So there's the resume. No need to step away to the game.
No animals die today. Yes.
Tunneling Claws burrow coming out from TLO, planning on being very tactical. You know, you talked about units that are good against mech.
Yeah.
I mean, the Swarm Host is probably the best choice that Zergs have for going direct against the meching player. But the more important weakness of a mech is its lack of mobility. You can get around it. Thors are good against Mutalisks, but they're slow. Tanks are good against Roaches, but they have to bolt to the ground, and that's pretty slow. So you can always do counterattacks fairly successfully against a mech player. So I really like this fast army emphasis from TLO.
Let's see how MajOr kind of sets up his bases, because obviously he's a very good player. He's aware of how good counterattacks can be, so look out for him to set up appropriate static defense, or have a unit here or there to defend those bases. Now, we talked about the positions on this map a lot, and I love how this game plan is kind of unfolding for MajOr as far as his progression through this game. Starting out with the aggression with the Hellbats and Banshees, moving into this mech plan. I think this is a game plan he had from the beginning for this map. So his key here is going to be keep dropping with the Hellbats, keep being annoying with the Banshees, while setting up those extra bases and building up a ridiculously strong mech army.
Oh, Banshee at the left gets eliminated. Most of the Hellbats in the top right get eliminated. Little teensy slip-ups, and oh my god, look at the creep arm spreading forward. Falcor, it's the nothing. They're moving up. He's going to be able to take the highway to the front lines with his Swarm Hosts. And we're starting to see MajOr have to go way far around his enemy to sneak vastly to the opposite corners of the earth in order to find a weak angle.
Sure, and the Swarm Hosts are going to be out soon, and MajOr's going to have to come up with a response. Of course, Swarm Hosts, they have those locusts. You got to look out. You don't want to make too cost-efficient trades. Obviously, it's pretty impossible to make a completely efficient trade against Swarm Hosts, but gotta look out for MajOr, see how he sets up his composition to correctly greet the locusts out of those Swarm Hosts.
Yeah, I mean, because, you're gonna have to greet them. They like to invite themselves to your party.
They do.
Wait, really? Whoa, that Hellbat drop was way more successful than it should have been.
At least the drones survived, but TLO's gonna have to rebuild that hatchery. Meanwhile, trying to keep these extra bases from going down. He has Burrow, remember that. Look out for the sneakiness. Burrow.
He burrows, he's going to waltz through. He's going to be taking some hits, but he'll likely be able to escape with most of them.
Forcing a scan or two. Something. Like the creep spread. Like it a lot. But when are the Swarm Hosts going to start launching those locusts across the map?
I'm real curious, because if the tanks hit a critical mass, you slowly start to fall apart as Zerg.
That's what MajOr wants. He wants that critical mass of tanks.
Look at this. MajOr has done a great job macroing. He's actually maxed out.
Wow. This is what MajOr wants. He's got those 11 tanks. Now he's going to be going across the map, dealing with the Swarm Hosts. See how he kind of handles this. It's a tricky thing when you're going against the Swarm Hosts. Do you wait for that Locust Wave and then go for a death push, or do you just go right away? It looks like he wants to go right away, scanning ahead, sprinting across the map. When you're maxed, that's pretty much the best time to attack. Let's see if TLO can hold this off. It's going to be testy. A lot of queens here to be able to help out with transfuse some swarm hosts. I guess overextending a little bit, but MajOr able to siege up those tanks.
We're seeing the roaches unburrow directly underneath the tank lines, and even though MajOr won't quite lose everything here, and he seems to have done some significant damage, there's another line of swarm hosts, another line of locusts advancing on the mech position.
It's a very slow trading going on. It's not obvious who's going to have the advantage. 174 to 156, 99 to 83, the army supply, all in favor of MajOr at this moment in time. But again, a way to get those trades, a way to come back is using those swarm hosts efficiently. And look at this, MajOr picking up everything, trying to circumvent the swarm hosts. TLO going to have to reposition, and MajOr can do this all day long, just going to float right over. Let's see what he does from here.
Yeah, what can you do about this, Zerg? There's no Mutalisks, there's no anti-air.
Wow.
I mean, you can't get the locusts in good enough position. This amazingly, if there's one army slower than a mech army, it's a swarm host force. So suddenly, we're seeing MajOr take mobility as his big edge. MajOr's the one waltzing his units where TLO can't seem to defend it.
Really cool seeing this really fun play here from MajOr. At the same time, again, he's always doing something else. It's MajOr. Hellion swinging across the left-hand side of the map, going towards that expansion at the top left. Drone's going to be burrowing before they even show up. MajOr's going to know well enough to probably scan there. Meanwhile, the drop's still occurring in the main base, trying to take down this Hive. He's probably going to be successful there.
Oh my god. Hive's down. What a play from MajOr.
Very well done. Hellbat's eventually getting cleaned up at the top left, but because TLO had to send those locusts to the top left, he didn't necessarily have them to defend the Hive in the main base. So TLO getting a great pick off there. And again, meanwhile, MajOr has a base at the bottom right. He's still at 186 supply, and he's still supplementing this mech army and keeping a lot of his existing units around. Also has a decent Viking fleet overhead. And TLO is having such a tough time dealing with this crazy play from MajOr.
I mean, MajOr is, again, exploiting how slow swarm host armies are. TLO's swarm host didn't quite fire, so he's kind of walking them in the weirdest way at the south end. We see that the medevacs with the Thors in the main base are still giving TLO a really hard time.
I'm very worried for TLO right now. Swarm hosts have nowhere to go. And again, when you're trying to make those expensive units, especially at this point in the game when your income isn't fantastic, it's so important to keep them alive. And MajOr's been doing a great job keeping his expensive units alive. He has those medevacs to kind of ferry them around, picking off units here and there, taking stabs at his opponent's economy here and there. Here's a cheeky move, trying to split up those swarm hosts, but MajOr going to eventually track those down. Overall, I think MajOr's playing fantastic, and TLO is just getting spread apart so much.
We see those medevacs at the top side still haven't been able get eliminated. Main base, not going to re-expand to it. So really the big thing TLO's losing in his main is all that juicy gas that he once had. We see that a single swarm host is actually still alive in the bottom side. And I'm very curious how this final confrontation will go. 14 tanks, 10 Hellbats, but there are 25 swarm hosts in this force.
Oh, and there they all are. Infestors, no! Okay,
Infestors.
throwing down the infested Terrans, but sacrificing all of it infestors. That means TLO is super invested in this attack. He just lost a lot of his gas units. We have the Locusts coming forward as well. They have to get a lot of damage done. The tanks trying to clear them away efficiently, but does TLO have enough here?
It looks like TLO is doing the summoned unit offensive, bringing in swarm hosts, bringing in infested Terrans. He breaks through. We're seeing the medevacs full of Thors are having to return, having to retreat, trying to apply pressure to TLO's third, but I think TLO just might go straight for the jugular here. Only 6 tanks. I don't know if they can manage to withstand this much force.
And I don't think MajOr does either. He's going to back up immediately after seeing those Locusts, seeing all those swarm hosts, trying to come up with the game plan. His economy is fantastic. He has so many bases on the map, and he's been doing a great job of continually harassing TLO. But what he hasn't been doing is putting a dent in that swarm host count. TLO doing a great job trying to keep all those swarm hosts alive, and now he has a very strong position here outside the natural of MajOr.
Oh, a little bit of glitching there with the friendly locusts and friendly swarm hosts interacting with one another. But what a move we're seeing. Cloaked Banshees, scans, gonna be shooting them one at a time. Where's the detection? Where's the detection? Oh my god, wait! The Hive was dead. The layer's dead.
There's 5 overseers somewhere though. He needs to find him. TLO needs to find him and bring him. Actually, the energy is gone out of those Banshees. But this is a really cheeky move here from MajOr. Using those Banshees, and they've been useful all game long, and that shows he's a really good player.
Yeah, we're starting to see the assault on the third base. TLO is in a reasonably good position. but not a great position. I mean, he's slowly falling. Banshee's being produced 2 at a time. It's the exact thing that he needs, and we're seeing the key play from TLO right now at the third base of MajOr, eliminating as many workers as he can with one final volley.
What does MajOr do from here? I mean, he's clearing out the air. He's pretty clever, actually. He's cloaking the Banshees, and he's using the Vikings to take out the Overseers. There's a Spore Crawler landing. How did that Spore Crawler burrow? I don't.
Well, it had been burrowed for quite some time.
Oh, fair enough.
Or TLO's totally cheating right now.
One of the two. But no, this is super cool. I mean, the Vikings taking care of the detection, the Banshees cloaking, getting that damage done to the Swarm Host. A great reaction to those Swarm Hosts. Now from here, it's a very weird game, Day 9.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest deficit that we're seeing is how difficult it is to get the Queens to the front field and how difficult it's going to be for TLO to get another base. This expansion at the left, I think, might even be the saving grace for MajOr.
He's super happy to have that, and he's slowly taking out Swarm Hosts here and there. Where are we at now? We're down to 22, which is still weird to say down to, but MajOr has been making a little bit of an impact. But from here, I wonder where he goes.
This is, it's tough for TLO because he doesn't have enough gas to, say, flood with Mutalisk, which would be an almost auto-win situation if he did have that capability. Right now, the only anti-air is 9 Vikings.
Fantastic point, and we still see TLO very low econ, but continually trying to replace those Swarm Hosts, but he doesn't have a response to these Cloak Banshees and these Vikings. So, okay, there's a nice fungal.
Yeah, I mean, the Cloak Banshee Viking combo is really brutal to deal with. Swarm Hosts starting to get broken up at the top side. TLO, I really feel like, needs to pull back, and the Queens are off creep. Oh no, oh no.
Run, Queens, they're trying to.
Out of
Now they're trying to decide which way to go.
They're going to have to go the long route. We see that the Swarm Hosts have worked their way all the way to the far right. Queens are spread out everywhere, and they can't join together. There's no Queen speed upgrade.
No, there's not. Not yet, Sean. Legacy of the Void, look out, though.
Looks like TLO's elected to secure the top left side of the map, but I don't even know how secure that's going to be. A single Reaper is at the Watchtower. I mean, this Reaper from MajOr is critical. It's amazing. It's keeping all the vision that he needs.
The little things, these incredibly amazing players do so well. And again, we're seeing constant trades here. Banshees taking out Swarm Hosts here and there. TLO trying to regroup a little bit, remaking that hive, has that pathogen glands upgrade on the way. A little bit surprised he hasn't gotten that yet, but of course that helps those investors have a little bit more energy in the beginning. Vikings being super annoying, going and landing at extra expansions, trying to harass everywhere.
What an odd game. Air dominance.
This is very strange. I haven't seen a game like this in a while.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see just air dominance from Terran. We're seeing him continue to build Vikings. 22 tanks on the field. Uh-oh. Oh, no, the Queens! The Queens falling on the right side means that the Banshees can clean up this entire force unless TLO can get the perfect fungal and the perfect follow-up. Everything's going to die.
I don't see what TLO does. He's just running. He's running. He cannot deal with this army. He's running, and he's trying to come up with the game plan. 6 more infestors on the way. You said perfect fungal. He's going to have 6 available. He does have an infestor in that composition as well, so he needs to chain them to take out all of these Banshees if he wants to live any longer in this game. Storming
forward. Huge packs of locusts. Fungal successfully landing on the tanks, but the real threat is, again, the Banshees. The Banshee count quite high. 8 of them on the field,
Good
but they all got fungal.
Can he chain it?
Can he chain it? Can he chain it? No, he got blocked by his own Swarm Host.
All right. Very tense situation. It's do or die for TLO. He needs to have a good engagement, and he needs to have it soon. Where are the infestors? The Banshees continue to come forward. TLO waiting for them to get in the proper position. Continually sending those locusts into this mech army, trying to get those trades happening. Banshees a little bit vulnerable. Look out the fungals. Nice splitting there from TLO, or excuse me, from MajOr.
Uh-oh, there's one fungal, but the target firing on the Spore Crawler means it will guaranteed fall. Queen count too low. He can trap him, but he can't take him out. MajOr takes a nice win, 2-1.
Not an easy win, not a simple win either. MajOr just coming up with that early game push. I think it was very instrumental, and the overall game plan I think was fantastic. He knew it was going to be close positions.
Yeah.
So he went for that early game push, applied that early pressure. TLO thought about going for that counterattack that he did in game 1, and then MajOr moved on into creating that crazy mech army with all the tanks, incorporating the Thors. TLO did a great job with the Swarm Host in trying to piece together a comeback of sorts, but MajOr just too strong in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think that MajOr has just such a good sense of how that mech style functions, given how long he's been doing it. It's very easy, again, to almost fall into the traps of the normal rules, because mech's supposed to be slow and methodical and steady. And Zerg's supposed to get the Swarm Host up and deal with the mech face-to-face. But we saw the medevacs darting everywhere, picking off the Hive. We saw the Banshees popping up, darting around, picking off all these units. Suddenly, the mech player was the one being aggressive, and it was the Swarm Host on the back foot.
It's fantastic, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And you players at home, it's something you can try to implement in your play. Taking a really immobile army composition, as you said, in the mech army, and making it mobile, incorporating the medevacs and just going everywhere, and that's MajOr's style. Super fun to see. Takes the 2-1 over TLO, and I'm excited to see how he does in the rest of the group, because there's a lot of Zerg players in his group.
Now, we're going to be skipping away to a break, because when we return, we're going to continue day one of MLG Anaheim 2014 with more group round-robin play. See you then.
Seriously?